Characteristics of life notes. When you talk about life, things have to be a certain way to be considered it living. To say that a person is alive, to say that your cat is alive, compare it to a desk, which your desk is not alive. It was alive at one time, was a tree, but now it's no longer alive. And so to do this, we have to start off by looking at the basic concepts what makes things alive. So let's look at organization. When we say organization, it's composed of one or more cells. We can be single-celled to multi-celled. Each cell contains genetic material or DNA. And this is the kicker. This is what makes viruses not living. Viruses not living. Because they have to steal DNA to reproduce. Steal DNA to reproduce. They don't have their own DNA. Hence why you always hear about getting the flu vaccination. And the flu is a type of virus. And so you get a chance of trying to up your immunity. However, it's not for the particular strand that's happening. Because each strand will steal the DNA from the person. And not everyone's DNA is set up the same way. So as a result, yes, you could be creating antibodies to help you protect against this, but all in all, you probably are not, because one virus and the next virus will be totally different, even though it's the same type of cold, or in this case, the flu. Another way to look at organization, we have cells that make up tissues, that make up organs, that make up organ systems. Reproduction is another type of characteristic of life. We have two types. Or in the early life, when it first formed, asexual is the only option. That means one parent. So we are making either a copy or we break a piece of ourselves off. So we can either bud, and we take like a hydra, we'll take a piece of itself off and it grows into a new hydra. And then cloning, we can make an exact copy. Many creatures can do this. Some can do both asexual and sexual depending on the availability of a partner. With sexual, we have two parents. And if you look at more complex creatures, we tend to have to be sexual reproduction to be the only option for us. Each parent provides either a sperm or an egg, one or the other. And the sperm and the egg will form a zygote. Hence, we get a little baby. Reproduction is not essential for survival. So even though it's characteristics of life, it doesn't mean if you don't reproduce, you're not going to be able to live. However, it was the continuation of our species. We will die if we do not reproduce. So reproduction is a very important factor. However, when things become dire or it's hard for a creature to live, reproduction is the first thing that goes out the window. That's the least thing they worry about. They worry more about finding food, finding water, finding a safe environment or habitat. Another type of characteristic of life is growth and development. So the difference between growth and development is whether you go through a stage or you're just gaining size or shape. With growth, we're increasing the amount of living material and formation of new structures. So that means we're actually getting bigger. In this case, a seed germinating is a perfect example. As a seed grows, it gets bigger. It doesn't go through stages, it just gets bigger in size. Development is the stages that you will go through. So changes that take place. For instance, we go from a baby to a toddler to a child to a teenager and finally to an adult. Adjust to change. There are quite a few under this column. We're going to first look at stimulus and response. With stimulus, anything in the organism's external or internal environment that causes the organism to react. So this is like your stomach growling because you're hungry. That's the stimulus. And what do you do if you're hungry? You're going to do what? You're going to go eat. Just like the doorbell rings. What would happen if the doorbell rings? At my house, my dogs would bark. Or somebody would get up and go check the door. Those are responses to the stimulus that just happened. If Miss Buyalos can turn the page. There we go. So response is reaction to the stimulus. This is where we have eating food if your stomach's growling, or a dog barks every time the doorbell rings, things like that. Simple actions where you're adjusting to your environment. Homeostasis, this is a new word for you maybe. Regulation of the organism's internal environment. So we are able to adapt to our surroundings. For instance, a human sweating to cool down body temperature. We need this to happen in order for our body to regulate. Another example is if you're cold, you will shiver. And you're shivering because you're trying to trigger your muscles to produce heat. And by doing that, you create friction by shivering. So it's an involuntary action that your body does. Adaptation is another adjust to the environment. Any structure, behavior, or internal process that enables an organism to respond to the environment factors and live and reproduce. Adaptation is what causes evolution to happen. Because we're adapting to our environment, it becomes a trait that makes us successful, which leads us to reproducing more successful babies. Perfect example. Monkey's tail can grasp tree branch to swing. This is a type of adaptation that grew over time. Not all monkeys or apes have them, only a few do. Same thing as a person's opposable thumb. We're able to rotate our thumb. We're able to grasp and turn things. That's our adaptation. This allowed us as humans, as Homo sapiens, to become dominant over many other types of hominids, which are other human-like creatures, because we were able to build and also hold weapons in order to defend ourselves. The gradual change through the species of adaptation is evolution. And so that becomes a trait. Not all adaptations are successful. It just happens to be a mutation that caused it. We also have metabolism. Metabolism is a combination of chemical reactions through which an organism builds up or breaks down materials. We do this every day. You're doing it right now while you're sitting in this classroom. Cows eating the grass, that's its metabolism. It's going to process that grass. Plants growing through photosynthesis, that's a type of metabolism. We're doing a process. Your body is doing metabolism when it's breaking down the different carbs, lipids, and things that it needs in order to create new cells in your body, to go through cellular respiration, to digest your food. All these things deal with metabolism. You always hear the statement, well, he must have a really good metabolism because he stays skinny. That's only a fraction of what metabolism does to your body. Metabolism is just your reaction to different things as you begin to build up and break down materials. It's only a fraction of digestion. The rest of it's either moving it to its location that needs to be used and things like that. Thank you.